Hello, and today we'll continue with Fraser's side story. Morning. Huh? Oh, look, he's up. Morning, sunshine. You have a nice long nap? The rat awkwardly blushes as he realizes his short 5-minute nap quickly devolved into him sleeping the entire night away. Shit, sorry, Fraser. My bad. Hi, it is. But I'll chew you out with that later. Get up and grab your pack. He does as I instruct him to, as I peek my head out of the curtain to eye up Hugo. He feels my eyes on him and he quickly fixes his head back. There's a clearing coming up ahead. The old path's been reclaimed by vegetation, but a couple of spry lads like yourselves shouldn't have any issue with it. I give him a nod, stepping back to sling my bag over my shoulder, Nero having done the same and standing ready. A quick step towards the back has us exit the rear, hopping onto the ground and following the trail of the caravan until it comes to the vision. Thank you again, Hugo. Don't miss it, my boy. Best of luck to the both of you. We exchange a final nod before the caravan goes on further down the path, eventually heading over the brow of a hill as it slowly leaves our line of sight. I turn my head back to lock eyes with Nero, now having a moment of privacy for us to finally converse without prying eyes or peering ears. Thanks for falling asleep, asshole. I'm sorry, okay? It wasn't intentional. Oh, I'm sure it wasn't. I swear, we've been up here. Well, we've been up since the crack of dawn, and God forbid I rest my eyes for a bit when I find somewhere comfortable to lay down. Don't hit me that, bull. We always do this in shifts, and we always agree that first watch stays awake to make sure the other's okay. Well, forgive me if I'm a little rusty. I haven't exactly left the kingdom in a while, much less with an ex-partner who I haven't seen work in what feels like a millennium. Arguing isn't going to get us anywhere. No, duh. Look, can you just promise me that when we get to Elendris that you'll be as professional as possible? I can't afford to boss this job. That human really has you by the balls, doesn't he? Oh, fuck you, man. I've already told you this shit is important, and you agreed with me enough to come along, so smarten up. Fine. I'm sorry. Thank you. I'm missing it. Do we have any idea of how long we're going to have to walk through these woods? Let me check the map that Dad gave me. There's an audible rustling sound as my pack is slung off of my shoulder, the top strap being undone enough for me to reach inside and pull out the folded paper, unfurling it as we continue through the tall oak trees. Okay, so, provided Hugo dropped us off at the correct location, we're looking at a 2-day hike through these woods if we pace ourselves. My legs are hurting just thinking about it. Yeah, well, my ears hurt just hearing you moan about it. Dick. Knob. Touché. Well, on the bright side, we have the whole day ahead of us to make progress. I reckon if we dedicate a good few hours to our trek today, we can set up camp a good distance in. Sounds like a plan. Ready to get moving? Let's do it. As we step further into the woods, time seems to slow down. The sun high in the sky still penetrating beams of light through the leaves, and it feels as if we're trapped in an eternal day. The two of us make significant progress, but the unchanging surroundings only give weight to this feeling. Through our travels, there are many an overgrown route and a stream crossing by walking on the occasional log to get through the uneven clearing of the woodland. While annoying to my less agile companion, these woods bring back many fond memories of my youth. Learning how to scale, climb, vault, and balance, all vital tools that have helped me complete many jobs most people would deem impossible. Wait, hold up, Fraser. I momentarily snap back to reality as I halt in my tracks. In front of us, a giant ravine presents itself. Puzzled, I consult the map, seeing there being no mention of a ravine on here. Crap, it must have formed sometime after Dad made this map. Typical, they never want to make it easy for us, do they? You can certainly say that again. Well, come on then. We're gonna have to follow the ravine down and hope there's a crossing at some point that we can, well, cross. While the rodent ponders aloud to think of a way to get through, I refuse to add any additional time to this quest than necessary. A quick look to the left reveals a cliff face, smooth from years of what looks like a stream eroding it. So, we might have to... What the? With a running start, I toss my bag across and watch it hit the other side as I aim for the wall. With enough speed built up, I take a swift leap, getting a solid 3 hits on the wall before launching myself off it and rolling onto the other side. I quickly stand to brush the dust off and walk down to meet Nero. No way in hell am I walking that many miles with a chance of there being an easier way across. We can't afford the extra time. Well, you might not have a choice. There's no way I could do that. You don't need to. Then how do you expect me to get across, genius? Toss me your bag and get a running start. I catch you. You're insane. I'm perfectly sane. You got enough distance to get a good shot of getting here. And you're as light as a feather. I'm confident I can lift you up. Presuming I do make it there and don't splatter on the bottom of the ravine. Trust me. He tosses his bag over. I can't believe I'm doing this. Ugh. The rodent breaks into a sprint, dashing through the grass effortlessly before finally building up enough speed. In response, I crouch down, raising my arm out to him and securing him in my grasp. Since the gravity was strong enough to pull me to the floor, but I kept strong on the edge. Oh, fuck. Pull me up now, please. I don't know. Fraser, sorry, I'm just thinking how funny it would be if I just dropped you right now. I pretend to loosen my grasp on him as he quickly raises his other arm in response and latches onto me. Fraser, that's not funny. Get me up now. And you know, now that I think about it, are you sure you haven't put on a few? You don't seem as light as I remember. And now teetering myself over the edge, dangling him lower down the cliff. This stopped being funny a long time ago. Pick me up. Okay, sure thing, princess. Rising up onto my knees, I quickly pull him up before standing back up myself. The rat being ever so grateful to be back on solid ground. I can't help but start to laugh, prompting him to take a strong dig at my arm. It hurts a tad bit, and despite me rubbing it to ease the pain, I can't help but keep laughing. You ever do that again and I will kill you. I'm sure you will. I'll consider us even for your awful sleeping habits for now. With the adrenaline now starting to wear off, we resume our walk, with a wave of silence washing over us. For the first time since we entered these woods, the skies gave a hint at the slightest change of color, and it became apparent that sunset would be approaching us soon. It doesn't take long for the rodent to notice this as well as he breaks the silence. We should probably pick out a campsite. Nothing worse than going till sundown and we must set up in the dark. Agreed. Nero goes to say something, but I quickly hush him. With the light starting to fade, the sounds of the voice begin to change with it. I previously The previously noisy forest had now been replaced with a more somber tone. My ear twitches, trying to pinpoint the origin of the sound I'm focusing on. I follow it to a slight clearing just side of us and beckon my paw for Neil to follow. Having burst through, the clearing stream comes into view. Perfect, we still have a place to refill our water supplies. Good ear. I'm not quite done just yet, follow me. If my memory serves me correctly, streams like this have a original source, and following it north, we found just that, a large pool of water, the result of a waterfall that decorated the rear end of it. Oh wow, isn't this picturesque? I mean, I'm happy to set up shop here if you are. You won't hear any complaints from me. If anything, we have a bit more natural protection here if it decides to rain. We nod in agreement and head over to a portion of rock that was slightly indented. It gives us a perfect cover, and we toss our packs to the floor. If I get us set up, do you think you could head out and get some firewood? Can do. And with that, I set off, gathering some twigs and logs to build a frame, making sure to also acquire some dry foliage to double the kindling effect. You got something to light this? Yeah, my pack. He begins to place the wood into shape while I grab the bag. He waffles around with it briefly before pulling out a metal rod and some flint. Oh, nice. And here I was thinking you were going to bring out your lucky sticks. Please don't remind me. They worked every time I needed them to, except when I was with you. But alas, they broke on me a long time ago. Settled for an upgrade with this, though. I've never actually seen a striker in person. How does it work? It's pretty simple, actually. You line the rod up with the kindling, and in one fell swoop, the flint is brought against the metal, sending sparks flying, at the least promptly setting them aflame. Impressive. Yeah, it's a hell of a lot more convenient. You telling me? Before long, we have a roaring flame lighting our little wayside cave with makeshift beds arranged to keep us cozy throughout the night. The feeling of comfort now fully settling in, I take off my cloak, lightening the load of my attire. Neil soon follows me in the decision and slips out of his overshirt, leaving the rat in the basics as he relaxes, yet as he tries, I can tell there's something not quite right with him. He seems rather restless despite the setup. You alright? Yeah, all fine. You sure? Nothing on your mind? You want to take a dip? I mean, I feel all gross and sweaty, so I wouldn't mind getting all washed up before we get some shut-eye. You in? Yeah. Honestly, it seems like quite a nice idea. Huh. Glad you approve. The rat wastes no time in unbuttoning the top of his shirt, sending it off to the side, followed shortly by his trousers. You keeping your undies on? It's gonna be cold, and there's no way I'm giving you that kind of ammunition. I can't help but laugh, quickly joining him in stripping down and heading over to the water's edge. It reaches far enough to just touch the soles of my paws. The touch is sudden, proving it is indeed cold enough to wake someone, but not too cold as to be unbearable. My eyes are starting to acclimate to the darkness, and with a little help from the fire reflecting out on the water's surface, I get a chance to inspect the road. It's been a while since I've had the chance to see him laid so bare. He seemed to be sporting a few new scars, some healed bruising around the thinner portions of fur, Overall progress to his build has been made too. My ear twitches at the sudden sloshing of water. As I turn my head, I can see that Nero has started to make his way into the water, letting out a loud exhale as the water gets higher and higher against his body. Not wanting to fall behind, I begin to wade my way in. I begin to wade my way in behind him. In truth, the water wasn't all too cold, considering my fur gave a faint barrier to it, but it would be a lie to suggest that I made no signs of discomfort. As the depth passed my upper thigh, I too let out a long breath to acclimate myself as I reached a deep enough section to cast off it. To the rodent's surprise, I raised my paws and opted to take a dive, fully coating myself in the water, into a sock coating the rat's chest in the icy liquid. Also, that's cold. Yeah, you're not wrong, but once you're under, it feels really refreshing. I can tell the rodent is dragging his feet when it comes to submerging, but I'm growing impatient. He seems to take notice of this. Don't you dare. I didn't do anything. You have to. You have that look in your eye. What look? The look. Oh, you mean the mischievous look. With a flick of one of my digits, I send a small splash of water at him, to which he promptly dodges. Quit it. You mean the scheming look. I take a step closer towards him, this time covering my paw and throwing a small wave at him. Fuck off. He speaks his protest through a small fit of laughter, the cold getting a lesser and lesser effect by each second. You mean the look that bastard fox has where he gets someone? This time I'm close enough to reach him, and deciding to go all in, I launch at the rat, clearing a portion of the water to tackle him by the soldiers ducking him below the surface. We stay there for a moment, but quickly surface, leaving all feelings of annoyance behind as we both break out into a laughing fit. We spend the next few minutes just happily drifting, eventually following the water to a part of the embankment that was deep enough to be submerged, but close enough to the surface where sitting was possible. When the energy started to wind down, the two of us find ourselves in a comfortable silence, no distractions to keep the thoughts away. Hey, what's up? When was the last time you and me just talked? Honestly, probably not since we had that falling out. Not that I'm still worried about that, of course. Did we ever really get over that? I mean, we kind of just never spoke about it. I think we both just accepted that we were both different people and had different ways of going about our lives. Yeah, I do wish the Thieves Guild could be a bit more black and white with how they handle things. Don't get me wrong, your morality doesn't always make it easy to side with you. But I do regret that it was the reason the things came between us. Yeah, I know what you mean, but that's who I am, and I won't apologize for it. And with the Thieves Guild, they sold me a dream. The second that things deviated from that, and my mind was open to all the problems the kingdom was facing, I just couldn't work for them anymore. Fair enough. If we're getting deep into this, can I ask you something? What's up? Did you only come on this job because you wanted to patch things up? Not entirely. To be truthful, I was a tad bit shocked. You already know that I regret the fact that you and I aren't close like we used to be. It feels hard to approach you kingdom side, given the number of prying eyes that are everywhere. So when I found out about the job, it felt good to know that I'd be useful for it and that I might get the chance for us to be okay again. Phew, wow, I'm a little touched. I can't help but smile looking over. I give the rat a playful dig in the arm. Well, you already know that I regret the fact that you and I aren't close like we used to be. It feels hard to approach you Kingdom's side, given the number of prying eyes that are everywhere. So when I found out about the job, it felt good to know that I'd be useful for it, and that I might get a chance for us to just be okay again. Whew, wow, I'm a little touched. I can't help but smile. Looking over, I give the rat a playful dig in the arm. If I didn't communicate properly, I'm sorry. But it's still good. You ever need me, it doesn't matter what personal business there is between us, I'll be there. Thanks, man. Anytime. If we're getting wussy here, is there anything else on your mind you've been wanting to ask? Yeah, I do. Actually, it's been a while since we've gotten caught up. I'd love to hear how you're doing. A bit of a loaded question, given how long we've last seen each other. I know, but I feel obligated to ask. Makes sense. I guess I've been okay. For the most part, after you left, my life kind of stagnated for a while. You remember that summer fling I had with that flower girl? The rabbit? Yeah, her. She was great. But it was after the little instant that but it was after the little instant we had on that job she realized my line of work. Said she couldn't run around with a criminal, constantly worrying about what I was getting myself into or the risk of being used bargaining chip wasn't to her interest. Not that I blame her, of course. So yeah, she left, and then with my injury, I was bent from a lot of jobs with the guild. But gave it a few months, and I got picked to handle a smash and grab or, or import gems for some nobles coming from a mining colony in the Wolves old territory. He's piqued my interest here, given the extreme rarity of these deliveries. As pissed as I was to get used to a new as pissed as I was to get used to a new job of depth perception, it did teach me patience, and with an appreciation for planning, the job went better than expected, gifting me a little promotion within the ranks. Oh shit, so you're one of the higher ups now? I wouldn't go that far, but put it this way: if they're looking to recruit new members, get anyone trained up, or considering a job that needs some serious planning, I'm the man that 9 times out of 10 they're calling. What about the 1 out of 10 instances? Damien. That feathered fuck? Yep. I thought he fucked off years ago. Nope, the bastard can fly, and he's free to go wherever he wants. But he chose to set up shop in Caledonia because apparently he loves the views from the woodland. Oh, that pretentious mother. Easy, Tiger. Look, I'm not gonna lie to you. He's still as annoying as he always. Look, I'm not gonna lie to you. He's still as annoying as he always was. But sometimes his aerial movement is a lot. Movement. Look, I'm not gonna lie to you. He's still as annoying as he always was, but sometimes his aerial movement is a much better advantage than what a target might be expecting. And yeah, we still butt heads, but we get along okay now. I guess, though, I do hope he didn't catch wind of what I was up to, because then I'd never hear the end of it from him. Sid, now that you mention it, is it going to be an issue? You helping me and all? Only if they know. And if they do, all they can really afford to do to me is give me a slap on the wrist for an unprompted departure. I'm just too important. There's a half-hearted chuckle from him as he wraps up his little career recap, returning his gaze to the stream. Whereabouts specifically? Whereabouts specifically? Honestly, anything. I know I keep you. I know I keep saying how I'm over everything and I bear no ill will towards you, but I don't expect you to feel the same way, you know? And this isn't just about making sure we're on the same page if a job goes off without a hitch. I generally like to fix things between us anything there's been if there's anything that's been left unspoken. Well, I brace slightly, ready for him to unload on me for all the inconveniences I've caused him, but a softer tone escapes his mouth as he continues. I was mad at you. I was mad at you for leaving. I was mad at you for going alone. I was mad at you for treating me like a ghost for so long. But then, when we were apart, I had time to reflect on things. I had time to reflect. I had time to learn you didn't make the decision lightly. You needed time to heal just as much as I did. So yes, I was mad at you, but just like you, I'd like to put it behind me so we can move forward and go back to just how we used to be. Well, I'm glad, though I still think you're a fucking asshole for dangling me off that cliff earlier. You shouldn't have fallen asleep on the first watch then. That's what that was about. He strikes the pool with his paw, cascading a small barrage of icy water on my face. Dick. I can only chuckle, shaking my head to throw the water away from my fur. After asking the question, my immediate thought is one of regret, thinking I probably shouldn't have, given the sensitive nature of the injury. I remember it like it was yesterday. We were young, not inexperienced by this point, but still young enough to be too brass for our own good. The job was supposed to be simple. Some random person approached the guild with a request, a standard breaking and entering and retrieval of some basic rich people crap, a couple pieces of jewelry, some perfume, the works. Regardless of what was stated, the higher-ups for our little organization deemed this was beneath them and thought that a couple of juniors could handle the oh-so-easy smash and grab. It didn't help that we were eager to prove ourselves to them, much to our detriment. From our hideout, me and Nero made our way over to the inner city. Conveniently, this was around the same year as the winter solstice, meaning the local taverns were all abuzz with floods of people doubling our luck and ensuring that no one was home at the property. We made our way towards the back, working in tandem to boost ourselves into an open room. Yet it was only when we were inside the home that we noticed the oddity of it. It was a bungalow, a rare type of homestead for this far into the city, and it appeared that a lot of the furniture and other items were packed up into large wooden crates. Not wanting to waste time, we began to ransack the joint, tearing open every single cabinet, drawer, and crate to look for the valuables. We didn't even stop to look at the larger memorabilia, unable to fit into the boxes nor the location of the home. Just two naive idiots thinking they had an easy job for a big score to make the coldest month of the year a little easier for them. But gods above, I wish we had more foresight. That night the streets were abundant with loud music and happy cheering from the festival goers, so loud that we didn't hear the sounds of footsteps approaching the front door. In an instant the door was flung wide open. The Wade's bungalow home was compact, providing nowhere to hide as we had to lay witness witness the oncoming terror before us. What the? Guards! That very year of our final job together was the same year that the council had elected its first new member of the Royal Council that wasn't from a founding bloodline, and we had just happened to break into her childhood home. The very same home that still housed all of her valuables ready to be delivered to her new home within the castle walls. Within seconds, she sprung from the doorway over to a nearby wall, tearing a sword off the mount and beginning to charge at me. If I was a millisecond late pulling out my dagger, the woman would have ended me in an instant. The wolf's proportions were much larger than mine, though, considering she went on to become the war counselor to the king. I can't say that I'm surprised. But knowing I wouldn't be successful in challenging her to a contest of strength, I lunged forward. My dagger created sparks as the steel collided, eventually reaching a point where I was able to use her weight against her and backstep away just enough to put a small distance between us. Then my head turned back for just a moment in an attempt to shout to my companion to ready himself for the encounter, only to see he was currently tussling with a guard that followed the shouts to the premises. By the time I turned my head around, the warrior had recovered, resuming a fighting stance and preparing to go for round two. From the spatial awareness I did have it was clear to see that the front door was a no-go, and the only escape plan available to us was the way in which we came in. You're not bad, Red, but you're not better than me. You dropped that pretty little knife, and I might just let you live long enough to send a prayer or two. Maybe just one. At that moment I froze. It was my first time ever encountering such a threat that my body betrayed me by overwhelming itself with every possible action and being... Come on, you were so confident in breaking in here and clashing with me just a second ago. Do something! From her shouting, I couldn't help but flinch, my body making an involuntary stance to the left to once again check on Nero, just to see if he had had any luck with his assailant, banking on the slimness of chances that he had and that we could hopefully team up against her. Oi, I like my men focus on me, you hear? What? Before I could even ask the question of what she meant, the wolf took all interest away from me and immediately began to dart to her right. Nero, look out! Huh? In that moment, the rodent had shifted his body, leaning backward, but being able to turn his head to look at me as I called out in warning. Astrid, taking advantage of the glance, sliced upward, dragging the tip of her sword across the rodent's face, slashing into his left eye. In a matter of seconds, the blood started to gush from the open wound, splattering across the house. Some of it even reached far enough to hit me. Oh, how I love a screamer. But you're just not my type, Ver. She raised her sword once more. Nero! In that moment, my body locked in on one singular motion, or singular action, In that moment, my body locked in on one singular action, and that was to save my companion. By this point, my memory gets hazy, and I was running on so much adrenaline at that moment that I was surprised my body didn't give out on me. But I distinctively remember running in, throwing my dagger ahead of time, prompting the two wolves of dogs at risk of being hit by the flying steel. I finally got close enough and decided to use one of the first ever thieves' tools I was given by the guild ever so trusty smoke bomb. Throwing it at the ground, the home was covered in thick, black smoke in seconds, the two wolves coughing terribly as I slipped a muzzle cover over my mouth from the inside of my tunic. From there, I picked the rodent up, flung him over my shoulder, and made a dash for the back window, jumping straight through it. All I can remember is running the fastest I've ever done to the nearest alleyway, finding one of the many sewer paths to get us back to our hideout. However, waiting for us was one of the guild's elders. "All right, lads, how to get..." The old man was silenced by the sound of an alarm starting to echo through the street, seeing a wound-up fox and an unconscious rat draped across his back. He was shocked for just a moment before shifting to a look of annoyance. I remember he took the rat off of my back and began to carry him himself, instructing me to follow behind him to get home and get the rodent recovered. When we did finally arrive, I remember patiently waiting by Nibble's bedside, unable to leave him, but able to hear the echoed voices of the elders from the hallway of the home. "So, bad news." "What?" "The client has blacklisted us." "What do you mean?" "Given the absolute epic proportions of a failure in this job, they refuse to do any business with us going forward. So no money, no political ally for favors, and no bonus for our winter solstice. So we put all that effort into setting up this contract, and now we don't get any kickbacks for it? Those fucking punk kids. One job, one simple, easy job, and they can't fucking do it, costing us that client. We should let that rat die so we have one less mouth to feed." The two of them had failed to notice that I snuck up behind them, and in my anger I slipped a second dagger, grabbing the one that threatened Nero by the neck, pressing the steel against it enough to draw a bit of blood from the man's throat. "Roll easy, Fraser. Let's not do something you're going to regret. If I find out a second goes by where he doesn't get the best possible care, I'll be back. And not only will I make sure the one who fails to meet my demands suffer, I'll turn myself in, offering a diplomatic pardon for the entire information of the entire network. I vow to you I'll destroy everything you bastards have built up." With that, I relinquished the elder's throat, tearing my badge from my satchel and throwing it onto a nearby table, ensuring I severed all ties with this despicable faction. And I never looked back. From the new members I did keep in touch with, I had it on good authority that the elders took my threat seriously and had people keep tabs on the fact that Nero received round-the-clock care until he recovered. I wouldn't see Nero again until a few months later. During that time, I was starting to enjoy my solo career. I made a name for myself amongst the common folk, as the bounties were worded, as an individual that could be relied upon, bringing on a new title as a noble thief amongst them. I'd also started to feel out getting taller, putting on some muscle and growing more confident in my charisma. And thanks to my dad being a tinkerer, I had the opportunity to reverse engineer all my now stolen equipment to make my own supplies for the jobs that I undertook. However, while I seemed to be thriving, here was my best friend in the whole world, unable to go on jobs of walking into fence posts every time he tried to go to a local tavern. I felt awful, but eventually I decided that I had to put my personal feelings aside and check on him. "Get the fuck away from me. You are a detriment to my success. If you hadn't panicked and got so distracted that you needed me to step in and fix your problems, I'd still have my eye. You can pretend to be this noble hero all you want, but you better take a good, long-lasting look at me, Fraser. Because you did this. Fuck off. It was upsetting, and a part of me knew his rage was warranted, but in that moment the verbal beatdown just brought back all the memories that I had repressed, and I lost it. Don't you dare. You don't get to blame me for what happened back there. If I followed that bullshit code the guild preaches, I would have left you there to die. And how the fuck was I supposed to know that was Lady fucking Astrid's house? And you want to spit that bullshit of you carrying me through our jobs? Last I checked, you were the one who was fighting a walking twig and lost. Meanwhile, I'm fighting one of the most competent warriors in the Wolven army. You're a fucking joke. There were a lot of things said that night that I wish we could take back, but in that moment we were both so emotionally charged that I can't say I'm surprised they flew out with such venom. But I'm glad he seems just as positive as I am to put it behind us. Fraser? Huh? You're spacing out with me. Yeah, sorry. Well, I was saying that my eye is better now. It fully scarred over a few years back, and the pain's been growing less ever since. The ladies in my life have a fascination for it, too. He has a rather cocky smile on his face for a moment. What ladies? Until I speak up to ruin it. Oh, but, it took me a while. Well, it took me a long time to realize this. There's something I want to tell you about that whole thing. It was a few months after I got cleared for active duty again. I got given the opportunity to spar with one of the most talented fighters of the crew. And halfway through, he got me pinned in a guard lock. I looked to my right, out of habit, and all of a sudden a flashback starts playing all too well. Something I learned in that moment was that if I didn't shift my body to look at you when I did, when Astrid attacked me, she would have taken more than just my eye. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that thank you for inadvertently saving my life the first time and then deliberately the second time by getting me out of that building. I can't help but wrap my arm around his shoulder, pulling him a little closer to me as a single tear rolls down my cheek. Anytime. Who, me? I mean, no, not technically. I see people in the bedroom enough, if that's what you're trying to ask about. But I'm not seeing anyone officially, though I'm curious. What about you? Nope, still working the mysterious single stranger persona, unfortunately, though I'm still getting my fair share of tail and top in the bedroom. Just asking, how did you know it's you? I know when you want to ask something, so just do it. You're sure there's nothing going on between you and the human? Like nothing at all? Like not even paw stuff? If you're going to start to hang around with people like me, you got to get better at using terms. And now, for the umpteenth time, there's nothing going on between me and the human. If I get up to anything, you'll be the first person I tell. I just meant like holding paws. Sure you did, pal. Sure you did. Opting to at least be courteous, I figured it only makes sense that I asked about his employment. Everything's fine, really. The new recruits are showing promise. A lot of our old crew still kicking about, doing odd jobs here and there. The elders are, well, more like the elderly now. But, well, at the very least, I'm glad to hear. Well, at the very least, I'm glad to hear some of the crew is still doing okay. Yeah. On second thought, maybe this is too awkward to talk about right now. The two of us end up sitting there for a little while longer. The previous emotions of our conversation have started to die down, and we're left in a comfortable silence. Though one more thing does dawn on my mind, one from earlier, and I toil with the thought of asking Nero about it. What should I do? So, I'm kind of curious about earlier. What's up? Well, I like males and females, right? Matter of fact, I don't really mind who I'm with as long as we connect. Yeah? Well, I wanted to ask, do you feel similar to that? I mean, since we started hanging out again, there's been a few times where I've had this feeling. And I didn't want to assume, there's just been a part of me that really wants to know. And again, I'm not gonna judge. It's just you don't turn down my flirting. I've caught you staring more times than I can count, and I don't think I need to say anything more about our little wrestling session earlier. I don't really know Fraser. I've been with girls my entire life. I've never deviated, and it's only recently I've had some interest in, well, you know, yeah, I do. Any particular reason why that's on though? Why that's coming though? Yeah, I do. Any particular reason why that's coming on though? I don't know. Part of me wants to think that I've been doing this job for so long, getting in all kinds of positions where I've had to pretend to pursue an interest in those types of relationships for the purpose of success to the point where I think I've normalized it for myself. I think I get what you mean. You spend you spend so much time convincing yourself that you can only entertain it for beneficial purposes, but when you face with the actual question of do you like it or not, you struggle to answer. Exactly, but if you don't like me staring or want me to give you some pushback over the flirting, I'm happy to do that. I guess it's just I feel comfortable enough. I want you to entertain that and say, yeah, maybe I do like that. That, and I know you're a massive show-off, so if I'm being honest, if I'm being honest, I thought a bit of ego stroking would be up your alley. Well, you wouldn't be wrong. I'm glad to hear you figuring stuff out, though, for what it's worth. No, I don't mind the attention, but don't think it's one-sided. I'd be happy to help if I can. A faint blush becomes visible under his white fur. Oh, yeah, sure. You want to fool around? Just pause stuff, okay? Leave it to me. If I'm going too fast for you, just let me know. The two of us back up a slight bit, reaching a point on the embankment where we wouldn't have to worry about the water causing any interruption. I assume a position in front of Nero, raising his paws up to his thighs, dragging my digits down them in a long teasing fashion before reaching his growing shaft with my left and a rather plump set of balls with my right. Despite my prior teasing, the rodent was bolstering quite the admirable size. Not enough that I'd need more than one part to ensure a satisfactory job, but enough to know that I had to form a tight enough seal and spread my digits across the whole length to encompass it. An audible moan from him gives me confirmation and satisfaction of my grasp, and taking it as my cue, I begin to slowly toss my paw up and down. In turn, the rat begins to let out a series of quick breaths, fiddling with his hind paws as I begin to quicken my pace. Slowly, I feel him reaching out reach out, twiddling with my hair. As I look up, I can see one of his eyes shut, and he does his best to speak through the pleasure. Don't stop. At that moment, I press down hard, pulling the skin back enough to expose his head, tauntingly rubbing it with my thumb. From there, it doesn't take long for the sensation of a familiarly sticky liquid to brush against my fur, indicating he's close. You ready? Do it. Deciding I've teased the tip for long enough, I remove my thumb and go back to a continuous stroke, picking up the pace one final time and slowly edging the whole head with the grasp of my hand, pushing him to a near climax. From there, it really doesn't take long for him to finish, biting down on his lip as he proceeds to shoot rope after rope of his seat into the open water behind us. Holy fuck. Damn, for a short guy, he sure can shoot. In truth, he's too wound up to pay attention to my teasing, but I'm certainly impressed by his ability to perform. I slowly start to back away, ensuring he has some space to come down in his own time, eventually popping the question that was on my mind. So, how did that feel? Honestly, pretty good. Early too, the fox was the first to wake up, the sound of the nearby stream being quite the pleasant alarm to wake him from his slumber. I gotta stop right here. Alright, so we got to learn a lot more about Fraser's friend, Nero, and how he got his eye missing. And apparently, I forgot her name, but one of the council members, we always got to see her. Well, not through a sprite, but you know what I mean. Like, we always got to see her at the council meeting with when Brian was on trial. So they had no idea that the house they were robbing was owned by a council member, that she was moving out of that house to her new place in the castle. So yeah, that was and apparently his recollection of his childhood, when they did that robbery, he mentioned that the wolf was bigger than him. So I don't know if this female wolf was actually bigger than the average fox, or if she's just bigger than him because he was much younger and was a child. But I don't know. But anyway, she's very strong, and he was able to do that to these two boys, and so he got his the rat got his eye, and he lost his eye, and the guild, which I think employed them, I guess, they got very angry because as a result of that, this client who hired them, I think, to steal stuff, they got very angry, and so they decided not to do any business with the guild no more. And when the guild threatened not to help the rat, Nero, Fraser threatened them by revealing to the kingdom, the council, about this business and what it does, and he would do that if the business did not help treat Nero. So they decided to treat Nero to the best they could, And they will last out. Later on, they will last out at Fraser for him have his eye gone, and they argued, and then they drifted apart. So I'm glad to see that they are patching things up. I mean, there's still some distance between them, but they're still friends, and I'm glad they managed to talk about their past and come to a resolution and decide just not to let the past destroy their relationship and just move on with the future, move ahead. So I'm happy to see all that and learn more about this rat. So and it looks like they even did a little stuff there at the end. I don't think it really was sex, but Fraser was playing around with the tip of the rat's his thing. So anyway, we'll continue with the newest update of Cleaved, which is Fraser's side story next time. Thank you all very much for watching. Goodbye.